have a moment just to share this interesting result of an encounter that I had in a session today. So we have a student, a teenage student, who is really ridiculously gifted, perfect pitch, scripts memorized photographically from every video and YouTube ever seen, all characters, voices being imitated perfectly. So, an elaborate library in his mind. And such a person has the ability to catalog and take inventory of comparisons without choosing. So, we were having a conversation today, and there was an announcement that those were wild turkeys and flying turkeys. And I paused because it was being dismissed in the moment by the caregiver because it wasn't recognized for what it was. So we paused to say, what about the flying turkeys? And what we found out was he's sitting across the window of the house, and in a nanosecond, a bird flew by, and his brain was able to catalog it. He later said, by size. I said, why isn't it Canadian geese? He said, because Canadian geese are smaller. And well, it's a turkey because turkeys have wider, bigger wings than birds. So there I had my answer. He's doing these quick analyses of his environment, and we don't get to decide, whether we silence that or whether we tell him to not pay attention because he has those gifts. So the way that we incorporated this into a tool is by saying or inquiring on whether the distraction of the bird flying through the window or past the window, if the distraction of the turkey was something that was his choice. Did he want that extra information in his brain, or did it come into his brain without choosing? And he said it was not a choice. When it's not a choice, we know that it is a real occurrence in the brain. It means that if you hook a person up to an fMRI, the visual area of the brain would light up. Just like a person who's having a hallucination. It's real to them, and it's only real to them because it's real on the tools we measure to check for reality. So as long as neuroscience refers to brain imaging to say that's how we know if it's real or not, then we have a right to assume that a distraction of, oh my goodness, she's playing in this key. Oh, that's the same key as whatever. That's not a distraction. It's a legitimate analysis of a stimuli that was just provided. I gave him these sounds, or the musical notation had something in D major, and his brain cataloged right away where else he's heard that before. So that's a superpower. It's a power tool, and it's a gift that we don't want to suppress because then it turns into oppression. And what we did today was we talked about a hypothetical arrangement during geometry homework. We talked about first identifying all of these distractions, giving it credence, like literally putting it on a pedestal and saying, it's coming out of your mouth, these noises, sounds, you're tackling dinosaurs and you're reenacting Jurassic Park. That's fine. It's in the middle of geometry homework, therefore we have to give it a name. So first we start with asking, whose voice are you making? Oh, it's Al from, okay. Oh, is it Al from a movie or Al from a YouTube? Oh, it's Al from the YouTube. He's doing blah, blah, blah imitation. Okay. Now we have sorted out that it's a character. We know that it's a character, and we know that it's a voice, and it's being reenacted, and it's happening at the same time that the expectation is to have this class, this homework, this assignment. So one of the things we did was thinking about going into a karate class. So tomorrow you're going to start karate. We're going to take you to the class, and the teacher is giving an instruction, and the teacher says, everyone put your arm up in defense position. And if you don't, we don't want to call it not paying attention, but if you have distractions, or you're looking at everybody and you're like, wow, that's like the scene from Karate Kid. Wow, they're all wearing the same white. Or, wow, those belts are different colors. Those are observations. They're legitimate. They're valid. They are also taking over your brain. And you have a choice to say, oh, am I going to play with those? Or am I going to slay those? Okay? So what are the consequences of playing with them? If you play with your distractions, which is perfectly fine, legal, go for it, have a wonderful day. I never tell people when I'm playing with my distractions because I enjoy my life. Like that bumper sticker, hey, I enjoy every minute of it. So thinking about what it means to have a distraction, and a distraction that is real to you and meaningless to somebody else. If you're in a karate class and you don't get your arm up and then the next instruction to the class is, all right, strike your partner, you're gonna get hit. So the idea of addressing it or consciously making a decision, this is what I'm going to do with my distraction. Am I gonna play with it and get hit, risk getting hit? Or am I going to put it in a box on the side so I can take it out and play with it when I'm ready, when I have the mental space for it, because right now I have to do this homework. The consequence, this student described the prompts of the people who don't address it, like, you're distracted, sit up, sit down, stop that, stop moving, straighten up your body, look at the page, don't look at the... All of those, he said it's breaking his brain. So he feels like he's under attack by a terrible monster that's just eating at him. And the first response is, you know, dinosaur, attack. So he goes into attack mode because he's self-defense. And we talked about the possibility that these distractions are in the brain. So we became aware that the brain is now involved. And since the brain is involved, we decided to make a picture of the brain. And this was my drawing. I thought his brain looked like a Brainosaurus. He did not like it when I made the spitting fire. So I said, oh, are you a slothosaurus? Does your brain work like a sloth? Do you only eat grass? And then we agreed that, yeah, we have power tools. Gifted people have power tools. So yeah, definitely we are powerful Brainosauruses. And what we left off with for today was a very nonverbal way for the prompts, if you will, which we don't use. We don't want to suppress anybody's choice to interact with their own world and their own brains and their own thoughts, ideas, depictions, sounds that come by association. This rapid calculation, this world by association that is so beautiful. It's the wonders really of the autistic brain. So what we wanted to do was give him a tool and say, you know what, every time there is interaction with your distraction, if you are making the sound of Alvin, you're reenacting a scene of Jurassic Park, mom's gonna make a tiny little slash under Brainosaurus. Nothing, you don't have to look at it, you can ignore it, you can let it go. So she's making these slashes, but however, these slashes come with prompts if they're not finished or completed or interacted with. So what ends up happening is that the student or the child gets to have a different color pen and just turns them into checks and says, I slayed. Okay, so when you have geometry homework, which was a real example in this case, geometry homework requires Brainosaurus. It requires your full powers. And one of the power tools you have is to choose what is motivating you more. Is it motivating you more to play with your thoughts, or is it motivating you more to avoid getting chomped, getting it done? So getting it done is what he wanted most of all. So this was a tool for him to help get to the other side. It's different than behaviorism because we're not using a behavior against himself. We're not using the expression of any scenery that he has in his brain as a behavior problem. We're not seeing it as a distraction because of something he wants to avoid. We're literally seeing it as a sign of giftedness. And this strength-based approach looks at what the student has to offer. Look at the capacity of all this cataloging, the capacity of all this calculation, replication with perfection, being able to pull these things out of his head at any given time. And it was just magical to see his capacities. So why not take a sliver of those strengths and stick it somewhere so that we can find these goals and live, you know, in a world where we can't use our power tools to slay. We can't actually make mom stop telling us what to do. We can't make the teacher stop telling us what to do. So we might as well just have a little peace agreement and say, you know what, I'll put my arm up when it's instructed so that I don't get hit. Using his powers as a way to defend himself. And it's unbelievable, really, how reasonable it is perceived by the individual who is asking for these tools. They're asking for, hey, I need to get to my goals and I don't want blood on the floor. And why is everything an argument? Rule number one, give credit to the expression. Put it out there, give it a name, ask where it's coming from, identify the source, and value it as a legitimate occurrence. Okay, so one of the distractions we had today was a walrus. Is there a real walrus right now in your living room, or is it in a movie that's in your head right now? Oh, it's in a movie. Oh, okay, so that's fine. No difference. We didn't ask because we want to discriminate and say, oh, it's only in your head, it's not a real danger. But if your sister is taking an online class right now and she says, hold on, teacher, I have to go kill a walrus, is she being responsible or irresponsible? Well, I have a walrus to kill. I have to take care of my life. Yes, but at the same time, sit still. We're having class now, right? Those are the prompts that break a person's brain because they're stuck in between a walrus that's real to them and a teacher that's online and is going pop, 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 ha. And where does the person in between this sit? The person in between sits on a very precarious angle of a demolished self-esteem. So if this helped you in any way, please put a comment. I want to know how Brainosaurus can inform how we use the power tools we have. It's very simple, and I want to see if it applies to any other situation. So let's get creative and keep in touch.